Hello, Michelle. How are you?
Hey, Aubrey, I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Lindsay's out of town this week, so Michelle and I are recording together, and it's so fun. I love recording with you.
Yes, we are having a good time. We definitely miss Lindsay. She'll be back soon, guys. Don't you worry. But it is fun to record with Aubrey. Absolutely. But
Yes.
Aubrey, I have a question for you.
Okay, let's hear
Do
it.
you have a favorite word?
I do. My favorite word is sesquipedalian.
Oh,
Here's why this
what?
is such a fun word. I know it's such a big word, and it's funny because it means you unnecessarily using big words to impress people.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's
What an
so funny.
ironic word.
I know, that's what I love about it, and so if people are using big words that either I don't know or the average person won't know, then I call them sesquipedalian, and they never know what it means, and it's so funny.
That's amazing. I love that. That's great. So that is not my favorite word, but maybe it will be now. But
Maybe it should
I
be.
always say that my favorite word is the word perturbed
That's a
because
good word.
it's just such a ridiculous sounding word, perturbed, right? That means bothered, right? I'm perturbed.
All
And
those
people don't use
R's,
it
it's
that
fun to
frequently.
say,
Yeah, it is perturbed. It sound because it sounds kind of like what it means, right?
right? It
It's
has some of that onomatopoeia. It's sort of like
right,
you sort of sound
exactly.
bothered when you say perturbed.
Yes. Well, that's awesome. So, but today, Aubrey, we're going to be talking about an important and really useful expression with the word word. And this is, I'll take your word for it. Yeah. So what does that mean? And do you use it, Aubrey?
I do. I love this expression. It means I'll believe you, but
Mhm.
sort of like, I don't know for sure. I'm not sure if I believe you, but I'm going to trust that you're right.
Right, exactly. You're just gonna kind of go for it and believe that person. It can be used also in a little bit of a sarcastic way. Aubrey, when might you use this, do you think?
I might use it sarcastically, right? If maybe
Mhm.
even I know someone's wrong, but it's not worth arguing, be like,
Oh,
I'll take
that's
your word for it. Especially
oh,
if
I
you've
like
already
that.
maybe you've let them know, like you have disagreed, you've even shared some evidence and they're still digging in. Be like, well, I'll just have to take your word for it, right? You're sort of being
That's
funny at that point.
hilarious.
It's another way of saying like, okay, agree to disagree.
Yeah, right. Very good. I don't even think I had specifically had that example in there, but you're so right. I love how you use that. But yeah, you could also use it when someone is trying to convince someone else of something, and yeah, you don't necessarily believe them, but you just also kind of want to be done with it, right? Or maybe you won't experience something, but you trust what someone else says. So like you aren't going to have this experience, you haven't had it yet, so you just kind of trust what the
Right.
person
Maybe you have
says.
a friend who's able to go to space. Like they're rich. They go on, one of these SpaceX
Yeah.
flights and they're telling you how amazing it is. And you're like, well, I'll just have to
Oh,
take your
take
word
your
for
word
it
for
because
it.
I'm never going. I'll never know what that is like.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or someone is an expert at someone and you don't understand it. You're just kind of missing that piece. So you're just trusting the person. Or Aubrey has that other context of just kind of, okay, sure. Right.
Yes. I've said this to my friend who is an aerospace engineer, so he's a rocket scientist,
Ooh.
and I'll ask him, about his job and he'll share something that I don't understand at all. I might be like, "All right, I'll
Yeah.
take your word for it." Right? I have no experience, no education about that, but I believe him. He knows what he's talking about.
Right. Exactly. So let's do a little role play here about pizza.
All right. Trust me, I know you hate deep dish pizza, but this is amazing.
I'll take your word for it. Right. So,
That's a great example. You don't wanna try it. You have no interest, and I'm,
right.
like, trying to convince you. You're still
Right.
not gonna try it, so you're saying,
Right.
like, "No, I trust you that it's delicious. No,
Like,
thanks."
sure, whatever. You enjoy what you enjoy, right? And I'm not gonna right? Um, or here's another one. Japan is such an amazing place to visit.
I'll take your word for it. I am not going because I really hate long flights."
Okay.
Yeah, this is a great
So yeah.
example, right? I'm just telling like, I believe you, I trust you that it's great, but for some reason, I'm not going to go. So I'll say, "I'll just take your word for it." Or sometimes I'll say, "I'll just have to take your word for it."
Yeah. And Aubrey, I want to let our listeners know if you're listening on Spotify, we are going to do a Spotify key poll at the end of this episode. So, Aubrey, guys, we have a lot of fun with these polls. We're going to share the results in a future episode. But stay tuned to the end to hear what the poll will be. But, Aubrey, I mean, how do you feel about long flights?
I actually don't mind a long flight as long as I don't have my children with me. I actually, not long ago, I had to go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I had the option of a direct flight that was quite pricey or a flight that went like north 8 hours out of the way. It like went to Montana and then to Mexico City and then to Puerto Vallarta. And it ended up taking like a full day of travel, but for like an eighth of the price. And it was just me by myself, no children. So I was like, I'll take it. I don't even mind. I'll have my AirPods. I could get some work done. I'll read a book. But if I had my kids with me, that would be a different story. It's difficult on flights
Oh,
with kids.
yeah, I flew with my kids, woo, and just I don't know, this was the hardest one I've ever done. I've flown with them alone before, but in the beginning of the year, I was with them and man, it was tough. So I get it. I actually yeah, I don't mind being on the plane for a while. I like just kind of there's nothing you can do to you just kinda have to be on the plane, and
Right.
so, yeah, I think especially as a mom, sounds pretty
Yeah,
nice.
right, especially
Um
now that we can watch films, like, there's
Yeah,
in-flight media usually where we're watching newer movies, or we can listen to
right.
podcasts, read a book. I remember the first flight I took that was, to Europe when I was an exchange student at age 16. There were
Mhm,
no movies, there were no iPods, right? I just read a
right,
book the whole time, that was the only option, and that was a
right,
little bit harder, right?
right.
Now, the time flies when you can,
Yeah.
like, watch
Ah,
movies and listen to
flies.
podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, but Aubrey, so another thing, and I noticed you saying this at the beginning, and I wanted to highlight it. Sometimes we say, I'll take your word for it. Sometimes we actually say, I'll have to take your word for it. I'll have to take your word
Mm.
for it. I don't know much about music, but this seems okay to me, right?
Yeah, I feel like I say it that way more
More
often. I'm not sure
often.
why, I don't know what the difference is. They're very interchangeable, you guys, they mean the same thing. I don't know why. Why do you think we add that extra word? Do you feel like it changes the meaning at all? I'll have to take your word for it.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know
Feels
that
the
it does. I
same.
think it just
Yeah.
kinda flows maybe a little bit more naturally, but
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
almost a little more
necessarily
playful maybe. Just be like, "Oh, I'll just
Yeah,
have
I'll
to
have to
take
take
your
your
word
word
for it."
for it. Right. Right. It's a little less rigid.
Mm.
So but does it ever mean that you actually don't believe someone? I mean, that kinda goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes I will use it if I haven't researched something, so I don't know for sure. I can't say one way or another. And so I'm like, I'll just have to take your word for it. I'm saying, like, maybe you're right, but I'm not going to believe it based on what you're saying. I would have to do some research before I really decided, right?
Exactly, exactly. All right. Okay, Aubrey, so is there a time that you can think of where you might use this in your life? I'm because I'm thinking about how our kids use like I'm thinking of our kids and the lingo that they might use as teenagers, right? I'm sure you've
Mm,
experienced this, right? You might not understand it. Maybe they try and explain it to you and say, "Oh, I'll have to take your word for it. I'm not going to
absolutely.
use this." Right? You
I've
have
used
that?
this that way because often they'll be describing like a TikTok video
Yeah.
and they'll say, "Here, watch it." And I don't want to watch it, right? They've already described, like, I don't want to watch that video.
Right.
Or maybe it's long. Sometimes they're like long. And
Yeah.
so I'll say, like, you know what? I'll just take your word for it. I'm
Right.
saying, like, I
Ah, that's
believe you that
another
it's
way.
funny or it's interesting. I don't have time to watch it. I don't want to watch it. I'll take your word for it. Yes.
Yeah, that's a that's good. I like that. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's just if we don't yeah, like you said, you don't plan on experiencing something. So you're just okay, whatever.
Maybe like
Um,
skydiving, Michelle, I'm just gonna Lindsay. Like if someone were telling me they had gone skydiving and I have to try it, I have no interest in skydiving. So I would probably say it's like, I'll just take your word for it. Sounds
yeah.
awesome. No, thank you. Would you go skydiving, Michelle?
I would not.
No.
I actually had to just look in the plans because feel like I just wrote something about skydiving for an
Oh,
episode,
funny.
but no, it's not in this one, so
It'd be
that's
great
funny.
for this because that's one of the things if someone were trying to convince me to do it, I'd be like, "I'll just take your word for it." I could believe it's exciting. I believe it's interesting, but it's just too scary for me. I couldn't
Not
do it.
for me. Yeah, yeah, you could also say like, "Oh, not for me, not for me."
Totally.
Um, But let's share a couple similar things you could say and talk about if it sounds like you actually trust the person or if it's more
Mm.
sarcastic. So the first one is I believe you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I use this as well. Let's do a little role play here.
All right, here we go. The editing in this movie is incredible.
I believe you. I just don't know anything about editing. Yeah,
Okay, so
that's a
this
good
one's
one.
more genuine, right? You actually don't know about it, so you're just saying, "Yeah, I believe you," right?
Right, you're like,
But
"I feel like every movie is edited well. I wouldn't know if it's a s" and I this is for me. Someone will be like, "Wow, the editing," or something will get, like, an Academy Award for editing, and I'm like, "Okay." I feel like this looks the same as every movie's editing? I don't know.
That's really funny. No, I agree. I agree. But you could use it in a more sarcastic way, right? Oh yeah, I believe you, right? But here we used it more genuinely. Or what's another one?
Yeah, "I'll buy it," or "I'll buy
Mhm.
that," for sure, and we might say, "The attention to detail on this painting is exquisite."
I'll buy it. I'm completely dense when it comes to art.
Ooh, this is interesting because depending on the intonation, if you're speaking with someone, they might misunderstand and think you're saying that you're going to buy the painting, right? "Oh, this
Oh,
painting is amazing. I'll buy it." "Oh,
oh
that's
my
not what I
gosh,
meant.
that's
I meant that I
hilarious.
believe you that it's beautiful."
That's really funny. That's so true. Yep, you gotta be careful with that, right?
Yeah. Interesting. I
Um,
think I would be more likely to say, "I'll buy that."
I'll
I'll buy
buy
that.
that.
I'm saying like, "I believe you. I don't really
I'll
know,
buy
but I
that. Yeah.
believe you. I'll buy that."
Yeah, you could say that too, for sure. All right, let's do a role play. So here we are friends and we are at an orchestra concert.
Ooh, fun. Okay, I'll start us out.
Okay.
Listen to those violins. Beautiful, don't you think?
I believe you. I just don't know anything about music.
But you can hear it, right? Listen to the emotion they play with.
I believe you.
Oh, Michelle, you have to learn more about music.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll take your word for it. I know they're talented.
Nice.
Um,
This is a really great example of somewhere where this happens, right? And this is a great connection skill because sometimes someone will be really knowledgeable and
mhm.
interested in something like orchestral music. It's a good example. And you might be there and you really don't know much about it. You need these phrases to be able to say like that you're expressing that you appreciate their
Right.
knowledge and
Their expertise.
expertise.
Yep.
You
Yep.
believe them, you'll take their word for it even if you don't really understand, how much talent is actually being showcased.
And I didn't mean to have two I believes you in there. I probably meant to I believe yous in there. I
Oh,
probably
yeah,
meant
"I'll
to say
buy
I'll
that"
buy
in that
that.
sense. "I'll
Yeah.
buy it."
Whoops.
"Okay, I'll buy it."
I'll buy it. So you said you're clearly very into it. And you said, listen to those violins, beautiful, don't you think? And I said, I believe you. I just know nothing about music.
Yeah, this is interesting, and this will happen where it's tricky when, this can hurt connection sometimes when you do have very different interests, very different
Mhm.
hobbies, and you're somewhere and you want to, support someone's interests,
Yeah.
you certainly don't wanna criticize it here, but you also can't pretend that
Yeah.
you're an expert and you know about right? So I think this is a great way to do that, be like, "I believe you. This is so I'll take your word for it."
Right. And then you said, listen to the emotion they play with. And then I meant to say, oh, I'll buy it. Right. So I could say
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that would work, right? Just saying like, "Yeah, I get it. I believe you. I don't really know." And then at the end, you said, "I'll take your word for it. I know they're talented," right? You believe like the music sounds good. You believe they're talented, so you'll take my word for it.
Yes, yes, exactly. Guys, we mentioned that we were going to do a Spotify poll for today. So if you're listening on Spotify, you can fill this out. We were talking about long flights, Aubrey. So the question for today is how do you feel about long flights? Love them, hate them, or you feel indifferent?
And
So
the
let us
assumption
know.
here is a long flight by yourself or maybe with
Yes,
your
by yourself.
partner,
Yes,
because I feel like
exactly.
the answer would be very different for those who have children if you have kids with you. It's so
Very
much harder.
true. Very true. All right, guys. Also, check out episode 2427 a few episodes ago. That was Make Your English Magical. Aubrey, any ideas for takeaway for today? What do we want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, this is a great connection skill, especially if you don't have something in common or don't share common knowledge. You need expressions for that as well, right? How to say, like, I believe you, I trust you, I'll take your word for it, even if you don't know. And it's also a good way to diffuse if there is a controversial conversation,
Yeah.
you're really
Yeah.
not seeing eye to eye. We've taught before, agree to disagree. This is another good one. I'll take your word for it. And then
I'll take
move
your
on
word
to a
for
new
it.
conversation.
All right, Aubrey, thank you so much for hanging out today. This was really fun. And guys, yeah, give this a try in your conversations.
Absolutely. Awesome. We'll see you next time, Michelle.
All right, bye, Aubrey.
Bye.